There's been a lot of changes over recent decades over what people consider to be consent, okay? Like I think if you would ask them like 30 years ago about like give them an example of like coercion, I feel like they wouldn't really say like that would be raping somebody if you coerce them into sleeping with you. Like I remember there's this whole narrative where it's like, oh, you know, if they didn't say an audible no, then like that's fine. Like back then it was much more common to think that the only way that you could grape somebody is if you were like actively forcing yourself upon them, they're pushing you off, stuff like that. But we've progressed as a society. It's like, oh, like now, if you try to coerce someone, you know, if you threaten them into sleeping with you in any way or like intimidate them into sleeping with you, that is grape, okay? If you sleep with them and they don't know that you have like a STD, that's assaulting somebody. However, something I think must be said is the consent in these situations that we're being much more progressive towards seems to only be about women's consent. Like I've seen posts on social media where women are like, oh, you know, if this guy, like he doesn't want to sleep with me, you know, he's gay. Or like, oh, this guy doesn't want to sleep with me, what's his problem? Like my man, he's not going to give me that pipe when he comes home. What's wrong with him? Like, what does he mean? Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, if a man said similar things like, oh, what's wrong with this woman? She's not going to sleep with me, blah, blah, blah. People would say that he gave rapist vibes. And I feel like that's a fair thing to say for someone who would say something like that. As you can see, even in that example, like there's a difference in entitlement where it's like it's socially acceptable in a lot of circles for women to feel entitled to a male's body, but not for a man to feel entitled to a woman's. I'm going to show you guys a conversation thread on Twitter, okay? And it all starts with Twitter, okay? Always. You it says you deny a girl intercourse, they react worse than men. Okay, I know exactly what this post means. I can tell you firsthand, there's a lot of women where if they make advances on you and you're like, no, what do you think I'm ugly? Like what? Like why? Why not? I'll tell you this right now, like this isn't the point of the video, but I might get back to it. The average woman, like as far as like I'm not talking about like the worst of the worst woman, the average woman takes rejection worse than the average man. Again, I'm not talking about the worst of the worst men. I'm talking about average men. I feel like there's a lot of men where they can be in a situation where like they approach a woman, you know, she rejects him and he's like, ah, man, that sucks. He might be, it might be annoying about it. Might make a little like, oh man, I guess she wasn't that bad anyway type comment. But the majority of women I know would have a complete mental breakdown if they got rejected by a man. Oftentimes, like they've said, that's why they don't make the move, because if they make the first move, if they approach a man and they get rejected, they're gonna like completely like crash out and lose their minds. They have like metaphysical crises over it. Like a lot of women aren't socialized to handle rejection, so when it happens to them, they literally don't know what to do. And again, we'll get back to that later, but let me get to the point. So this was the post, right? And then this was the post I saw. This was what was on my thread. And then I denied a man intercourse and he threatened to assault me. And the thing is, this is a very real thing that happens, and this is a very real thing that's not okay. Okay. However, as you can imagine, like Twitter didn't understand this, but YouTube is much smarter than Twitter. So I'm having faith in you guys. This in response to this, to you deny a girl intercourse and they react worse than men, this implies that women don't do the same thing, that women don't have that same, like, I don't want to say like villainous nature, nefarious nature as far as like assaulting men. Now, mind you, I'm not going to say a lot of women just straight up like will say like, oh, like I'm going to do it without your consent. Anyways, I don't think that's a thing a woman would say. However, I feel like there are women who take it further than that. And that's what my post said. Wait, scroll. No, where am I? I'm lost. Ah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. Tripping was right here, okay? I said, I denied intercourse from a woman, and she did grape me, okay? Very true story, very real thing. And the thing is, in general, mind you, I promise you, this guy was very much talking about the average person. Like very much like the average person just having like a crash out over not sleeping with somebody. Like that's absolutely what they're talking about. And I feel like we all know that. But of course, when certain groups of people feel attacked, they feel the need to take it to this very high level and talk about like the worst of worst like human beings like in the world, which is a very unreasonable way to have these conversations, by the way. But anyways, a bunch of people asking me, bro, you know, N-word, you're 6'6". What woman with godly powers is assaulting you? And I'll tell you what happened. Like these are actually like multiple occasions. On multiple occasions, I've been told by women if I didn't sleep with them that they were going to say that I assaulted them, which obviously, you know, I'm a very large African-American male. I don't want those allegations out there. So in some of those situations, I yielded. That is not me willingly consenting. Those are situations where I said no, and they're like, what? You're saying no? If you don't say that, I'll do this. Or if you don't do that, I'll do this. Like that is literal coercion. Like that's how it works. I've had women say that if I didn't sleep with them, they were going to take their own lives. So what do you think I'm going to do? And I feel like a lot of people would say like, oh, well, did you really believe them? Like, do you think that was actually going to happen? I feel like it doesn't matter like how reasonable of a thing it is for happening. The problem is that like I'm threatened into doing something. So regardless of if there's a 1% chance that I believe that woman's actually going to take her life and I sleep with her because of that, that's still like me being assaulted. Like, you understand that, right? That is, by the definition of assault that we've established, assault. You know what I mean? That is assaulting someone in a sexual manner. Now, if I were to take those women to like court, you know, and like try to like get like a ruling out of it, would I win? Probably not, because again, the problem that like this video is about, if I'm a woman and I come on here talking about like, oh, you know, this guy said if I didn't sleep with him, he was going to do this, he was going to say this, you know, oh, like this guy, like he was trying to sleep with me, kept touching me, and eventually it got to the point where I just like decided to let it happen. People would be like, oh, yes, of course you're a victim. That guy didn't respect your consent. That is assault. But it's like, because I'm a man and there's not like an undercurrent of like, oh, like this person could take my life with their bare hands if they needed to, it's not taken as seriously. Look how they down here talking to me. Yeah, sure, man, bro, this person's crazy. Yeah, he got assaulted by a woman and dedicated his whole life to bitching about women on Twitter. First of all, I feel like I don't even B word about women that much. I don't even like that B word, okay? And here she is using it. But somehow I'm the misogynist. Okay, come on, be for real. And then hold up, there's another one. Yeah. I really like these dudes like came in and they were like having good responses. Appreciate it for sure. And then you're lying. You know what I mean? Like, why stuff like this? And this guy's a misogynist saying that. You know what I mean? Again, the crazy thing about the person who made this comment right here. Hold up. Can I see the quote tweet? Or do I gotta go back? This person said, like, I went to their page because, you know, when people talk stuff, I always look at their page. It said, God first and defending someone who makes fun of grape victims. Have fun in hell. LMFAO. And then in the comments of this, I changed my mind. Crying about women on Twitter won't ungrape you, by the way. Imagine someone saying that to a woman. Someone said, can't believe people get this mad because of your tweets. I can't believe it either. So, like, I'm gobsmacked. You know, one of my biggest problems, someone commented, they said that like I was like doing it like for like sympathy. But again, I'm like, you look at that thread, like I wasn't bringing that up to be like, woe is me. Like they're saying I was trying to one up the person for like the sake of sympathy. Not at all. I was trying to one up the person saying that like, this is a thing that happens to both people. And also, I feel like something worth talking about is, again, the problem of women assaulting men. Oftentimes, it's situations where men don't know they were assaulted. Even when I lost my V card, I was assaulted. I broke my back working out. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I think I hurt my knee doing something, right? And then I was doing like RDLs, I believe. Or like, I don't know, I was picking up a bar for some reason, but I was like, since my knee hurts, I'm just not going to bend my knees. So I did it using like my entire back. Herniated one disc, bulged the other disc. So anyways, I was in excruciating pain for a long time with my back. So it's like, I'm not trying to like get active like that. But, you know, no wasn't really being taken for an answer. So it just happened. But it's like, we turn things like assault into like a gender issue when I really feel like it should be like a war and assault type issue. Like, yes, oftentimes like women being like assaulted is a result of misogyny and stuff like that. But I mean, I feel like when we're talking about specifically like the issue of rapists, predators, it should straight up just be like, oh, we're anti-predator. Because when you make it like a linchpin of like the whole like gender war argument, then again, there's that implication that like women don't do it, or downplaying the fact that women do it because men quote unquote do it more. Like it trivializes, like again, and it's like these people will like talk about this like, oh yeah, you know, male victims of SA, like that's also a problem. The thing is, when you make like grape and stuff like that a linchpin of the gender war argument, it's still downplaying male victims of women. You know what I mean? It's like, honestly, even when like black people, like some like racist like white person will say something like, oh yeah, you know, like black people are dangerous, like, you know, like killing each other, like da 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 da. And then like someone will be like, oh, but like we don't shoot up schools though. It's like, why are you going murder for murder? You know what I mean? Like minimizing the issue by saying, well, oh, you know, women might assault men, but they definitely don't do it as much. You know, more men assault men than women assault men. Again, it's trivializing victim experience and also not holding women perpetrators accountable. I'm looking for the meme right now. I cannot find it, but you know the meme where it's like the man, he's laying down in bed, kind of like cowering in fear, and the woman like comes home from wherever she was at, you know, and she's like just slinging that vajayjay around. It's like, oh, like, you know, you're gonna give me that meat, like it's gonna happen. Like that's like not funny. Like when you really think about it, you know what I mean? Like again, imagine the roles being reversed. Like some dude coming home and his wife is cowering in fear because she knows that this dude's gonna want to like sleep with her that bad. It's literally just a joke to them. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like my man, he better give it to me every day. Like I need it every day. Now, mind you, okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with desiring that kind of, you know, and love making every day. However, when the energy around it is like, oh, well, they better. Like, oh, like he needs, like, I don't care if he's tired. Like he better give it to me. That's when it becomes a problem. Like I mentioned earlier, like, oh, you must be a homosexual. Like, how are you possibly like rejecting me right now? I'll talk about that in a second, but you can see this quote tweet with the context of the tweet that it's quoted on implies that this is something that men do that women don't do, or women don't do anything worse. So I'm saying that women absolutely do things like that and worse, the same way men do things like that and worse. And then there are also times like this one time where basically this girl, like she was making a move on me. I'm like, I'm just like trying to chill. And then like, she grabs my meat anyways, and I push her hand away. I'm like, nah, like for real. And like she grabs it again, and like I kind of try to brush it away again. And then like she's still like grabbing my meat. So then, at that point I'm like, this is kind of just awkward. I'd rather just like get it over with. Because again, I feel like the notion of like when someone's clearly not talking about the extremes of the situation, like when someone's like talking about like average people, like, oh yeah, like on average women take rejection worse, and then like you one up it to like this whole big scale that it never was, I feel like I can also take it to that scale. Because again, we have all these talks about consent and like how important it is in like new, and like not new ways, but like different ways consent can be violated. But it's like, we're not talking about consent when we have those conversations. We're talking about women's consent. Because as I mentioned, oftentimes women not rocking with like male consent is seen as a joke. It's like, look, bro, I get it. Like we want to take on the patriarchy, take on misogyny, because misogyny and the patriarchy is bad. But like when you're talking about something like, unaliving people, for instance, like people unaliving their spouses. Again, I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but people taking the lives of their spouses, you know what I mean? And then people being assaulted. I feel like the issue in that sense should be coming at the assault. Like obviously, like there are certain ways like misogyny like affects the way men are doing that to women at a different rate. But it's like if we talked more about misogyny and again just like educating men on like the oppression of women, like I feel like that would solve that issue. But it's like just going around being like, oh, men assault women, men assault women. When you see like that word like sexual assault, like it's just basically like just assume that it's like a man doing it to a woman. It creates this issue where people who are exceptions to that rule aren't really seen, aren't really heard. Because even if you think about it, even men being assaulted by men isn't taken seriously. You know what I mean? Like it's a joke to people. And there's all those things where it's like, oh well, you didn't get him off of you, like you didn't just beat him up. Oh man, if a man touched me, I would just beat him up. Like, oh, you must have liked it. That literally any male victim of SA is, oh, you must have liked it, because somehow the onus is on them to physically stop the situation. Like literally, people in the comments are like, oh bro, like you should have like pushed her, and it's like, I should have like put my hands on a woman. And it's like, the thing is, you shouldn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have to get physical with someone to like stop yourself from sleeping with them if you don't want to. Like your no should just mean no. Like the fact that like I would be in a position where I had to push someone away in the first place is already bad enough. And it's like, I feel like the main thing that like has to be said, it's like a woman being assaulted is not worse than a man being assaulted. And I feel like people don't say that out loud, but I feel like people just like, that's how they feel. You know what I mean? Like someone, if a man and woman, same situation, they're coerced into sleeping with someone, that's going to scar them the same way. Like they both went through the same thing. So for you to not take one of those things seriously, it kind of bastardizes the entire concept of what you're talking about. Because no, it's like you don't care about people who are assaulted. You know what I mean? You care about women who are assaulted. And when I go on, I talk about like people not having empathy, people not being good people. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Just like when, there be like a bunch of like pro-black people, complaining about racism. Yeah, racism's horrible, racism's horrible. But then watch something happen to a Mexican. They're like laughing at Mexicans getting deported because like, oh, like there was a certain amount that voted for Trump. Or like they say crazy things about like South Asian people. And it's like, bro, like literally like the notion of you being like, oh, racism bad is because it's happening to you. Same thing. A lot of women feel like the oppression of misogyny is only bad because it's happening to them. You know what I mean? And like they shit on men who like oftentimes very badly, I might add, are very not understanding, not empathetic with misogyny, when they themselves, if they were men, if they were not experiencing what they're going through, they themselves would not care. And the literal proof of it is male victims not being taken seriously when it comes to things like SA. Like people literally only care about what happens to them. Like you're not an empathetic person if you're homophobic, transphobic, racist towards anybody, misogynistic. Like you're not an empathetic person. And also to sit here and pretend that like, your oppressor, so to speak, can't go through anything, can't have any sort of similarities to you because they're your oppressor, it's an asinine concept. Like there are things about being a man in America That's hard. There's things about being a man anywhere that's hard, I bet you. But when those things are talked about, it's seen as an issue because it's like, oh, well, you don't have it worse than women. And it's not about who has it worse. In those situations, it's not about who has it worse. It's about who has problems, okay? And we all have problems. So it's like you, regardless of what group you're in, holding this resentment for your oppressors as if like life doesn't just happen to everybody. You are part of the issue, because I'll tell you this right now, a lot of the women that assaulted me very much were misandrous. Very much like if I like told them after the fact, like, oh, like that really made me uncomfortable, I feel like you assaulted me, blah 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 blah, they would have laughed in my face. Like, being an oppressed group doesn't give you the right to not care about any other group. And it's like, people not understanding that is why things are as shitty as they are, okay? Because the thing is, some people are gonna see like the way like those women commented on like what I said about being assaulted, and they're gonna use that to perpetuate their own misogyny. Like, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like women are horrible. They're gonna be like, oh well, look, like women don't care about this, like women are this kind of person. And it's like, yeah, those women in particular didn't care, okay? And the thing is it your responsibility for people that are small-minded enough to like look at one person or a couple people and make that the rule for an entire people? In general, no, okay? But if you're putting yourself in a position to like be that person, then yes, like you're an issue. Like, if I find a white man and I call him a cracker and like I beat him up like physically, and then he ends up being racist, like, oh man, like this is what black guys are like, is that a stupid frame of logic from him? Absolutely. Like, that's a very dumb frame of logic. But it's like, if I didn't do that thing that is objectively wrong to do, like just beating up a random white man, calling him a cracker, like that's a very wrong thing to do objectively. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to perpetuate that thought in his mind, okay? And even if he was just a little bit racist before and that pushed him over the edge, it's still me who put him over the edge. I put him in a position to feel that way. Again, you got to understand, the vast majority of people aren't smart. The vast majority of people are going to have those kinds of mindsets. You see it all the time. Like, someone will date like, again, like someone, again, like the whole like black men, black women video I made. Like I said, like people will date like, say 3 black men or black women, see them behave a certain way, and instead of being like, oh, like some people are just bad in relationships, they automatically say, oh, black men, black women are horrible. Like they're like this, they're like that, they're like this. And is that stupid? Yes, very. But that's why what people do. So why put them in a position to do that? That's why like being hateful towards any sort of group, like you'll simply never win. Like obviously, you know, oftentimes like I'll go after women who come after men in certain ways, like kind of like how I did today. But if I was in here and I was like calling them like, oh, like, you know, B words ain't shit, they're like this, they're like that, they're like this, they're like that, and then people are like, oh yeah, like men, like I would just be proving their point, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh my gosh, I thought I paused, I did not. But anyways, it's like the same way I would be proving my point if I did that, they're proving the misogynist point by what they're responding to my comment with. Like, it's spreading the notion that women don't care about male SA victims, which honestly, I would say more so society doesn't care about male SA victims. Society doesn't care about male consent. It's a joke. Again, like even the women who would make those jokes about like, oh man, my man better give it to me, blah, 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 blah. I promise you there are men who would see that post and laugh and not think anything of it. But of course there are men, women, non-binary individuals who do take that kind of thing seriously. So I would never say something like, oh, women are inherently unempathetic because of this, blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying, for one, I'm saying society, not really empathetic. Like there are good people out there, okay? But I'm just saying in general, like in common, like most people, and not even that most people would comment things like the way those people commented towards me, but even, I don't even want to say a subconscious sense, but even not saying out loud, you know what I mean? Like if I tell a woman that I've been assaulted, and then a woman tells that same woman that she's been assaulted, I feel like a lot of women would have a stronger reaction to the woman saying that she was being assaulted. Like, I feel like for me, it's like, oh, like that sucks. Like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, that's horrible. But you know, a woman is like, oh no, what happened? Like, is he in jail? Like, do you need me to do something? Like, oh, like come over right now. Like, you know, like I'll comfort you, blah, 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 blah. But if I got assaulted today and like I called like any woman I know, even any man I know, and I like told them what happened, most of the time, I don't think they're going to take it as seriously. Like, I don't think they're going to be like, oh, like, do you need like a shoulder to cry on? Now, mind you, that has happened before, but like those people are the vast minority of people who like interacted with that situation. But you get what I'm saying though? Like, my point is, again, it very much bastardized, but like, cause again, like that one woman, she literally posted like so much about like like, oh yeah, you know, rapists are horrible, you know, people who like defend them completely horrible, and here she is like laughing at me about being assaulted. Like, it completely throws your point on its head, because like you don't care. Like like so many people, even some people watching, probably, you don't care about SA, you don't care about people being assaulted, you don't care about consent, you care about consent of your people. Like that's who you care about. Now, I would say women specifically, but the things, again, the narrative has been pushed that it is like women's, like everything we say about consent, most of the time in the back of your head, out loud, it's literally straight up just talking about women. And of course, there are men who only care about men's consent. Like there are men who bring up situations like men being assaulted only in response to women being assaulted. And things, you can often find me denouncing people who assault women in any way, okay? But the reason today I used it as a response is because the implication was being made that women don't do things like that. And it's like, yeah, if there's an implication, whether it be soft or hard, that women don't do things like that, then that is a valid response. But it's funny because it's like there are even dudes like themselves who don't care about male consent. Like there are dudes like, again, like saw that post, started laughing at me, bro. And also another element of this and why these people reacted the way they did, a lot of it is because they don't like me personally. Okay, like again, and it's like if you're gonna agree that someone being assault, like people are like, okay, someone getting assaulted, that's worse than like taking someone's life, right? Which I can get behind that. I can completely get behind you saying that. But it's like we're gonna spread that notion, but now it's because of someone you don't like, because of like my words, because of something I said. Like you think it's okay that I got assaulted now. You disagree with like just some opinion I have, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, like I deserve to have had that happen to me. Which again, it's just weird, you know what I mean? And these are the people who would call me a bad person. Which is like they'd say I'm a bad person for like a take I have, but then like somehow they're not a bad person because they're like, oh, like since you're a bad person, like I think all of a sudden I think assault is okay. I really hope y'all grasping what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Because again, like this is a big thing. Like this is a big thing that like I've been seeing for a long time now. The fact that like it truly, like when people are like, you know, virtue signaling, which it like, at this point it now is virtue signaling, you know what I mean? When they're like, oh yeah, assault's horrible, people should never assault people, and they're literally only talking about men, like only talking about men assaulting women. Like I just think that's very odd. And I would say that even disenfranchises victims of assault, that like where it's a woman assaulting a woman. I feel like those women are also not heard. And I'm saving like this part to the end because I never wanted it to be taken out of context. But it's like this isn't, again, like this, a lot of minorities do this, right? But a lot of women only care about the fact that like certain bad things are happening to them because they're happening to them. Like they only think those things are bad because, oh my gosh, look, it's happening to us. And again, something I will say, I'm sure there are a bunch of like black people where if they were white people, they would not care about slavery. They would not care about racism that much. A lot of people in general are just like, oh, well, this is happening to me, so I can identify with it very easily. So this is why it's a problem. But then anytime the shoe's on the other foot, they don't care, you know, and there's always some excuse. It's like, oh, well, you know, it's not the same. When it's like, in an instance like this, something so extreme as like assault, something like slavery, like it would be the same. You know what I mean? And it's funny because people talk about like society's problems with like consent, you know what I mean, in general. But in those instances, they're referencing, again, women's consent. But it's like, they care about men's consent even less than they care about women's consent. But it's just because like there's not a bunch of situations of like women like, you know, grabbing men and like restraining them and forcing them to have relations, that like they don't really care, you know what I mean? But again, it's like they take these things where they're like, okay, yeah, like coercion, that's just as bad, you know what I mean? Like pressuring someone into doing it is just as bad, but it happens to men, they don't care, you know what I mean? So again, it's like there'll be situations they'll like tell you, they're like, okay, a victim of coercion is just as much like a victim as someone who's being like held down and doing it forced against their will. Like both of those people are like scarred, you know, maybe in different ways, but both those people are actually absolutely scarred, and they shouldn't be seen as like different. Like, you know, it shouldn't be like, oh, well, if someone's getting physically forced, like that's worse. Like that's like, there shouldn't be like tears to it, right? However, in these instances, they prove that they themselves feel like there are tears to it, because I don't know if anyone says this out loud, but in their mind, it's like, oh, well, you know, women don't like physically restrain men. Like, you know, they don't like tie men up and then blah, 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 blah. Oh, men, you know, they may get coerced, you know, they may have something slipped in their drink, but it doesn't happen nearly as much. It's like you either care about victims or you don't. Okay, and the thing's, a lot of these people proving they genuinely don't. You know, they care about victims if they can compare themselves to the victims, if they can relate to the victims. Again, not true empathy. Like I saw this post the other day. The original post is, you ever love someone so much you tried to understand them while they were hurting you? That's literally just empathy. I say, swear to God, 9% of this app thinks empathy is simply feeling bad for someone when they're sad. The point is, no matter how many of these people are like, oh yeah, like empathy is like the shit, like you really need to be empathetic, most people are only empathetic when it's easy for them, when they don't have to think that much. Where do you think all these double standards in relationships come from? I'll say it again. People only claim empathy is the biggest virtue, and they only employ empathy when it's easy for them. Empathy is not always supposed to be easy. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you genuinely have to put yourself in the shoes of someone you don't relate to whatsoever, in the shoes of someone that you don't like whatsoever. But many people, most people cannot do that. And that's the issue. And that is the video. Okay. I'm sorry. This was a bit late. I was recording a video. I was explaining why Will Smith's the best rapper of all time. And I was showing his music. Copyright. They did. I couldn't post it, bro. The video was going to be hours long and broke my absolute heart, bro. Like it literally shattered into a million pieces. Okay. But I'm glad I got to get this video out of there. Okay. Got it out the vault. But yeah, state of affairs. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to think. Do I have anything interesting happening? Now I'm just, trying to get back on daily uploads, getting on all the medias. Also, I'm posting on TikTok a lot more consistently than I was even before I went missing as well. So yeah, no, very excited to grow and all that. But anyways, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, everything I have to say. I'm so sorry. And I love you platonically. Okay. Have a great day, night, evening, morning. Hold up. No, I just realized something. I remember my girl, she told the reason like I say platonically now is because my girl, she wanted me to specifically say that because she didn't like that I was saying it to you. Now that I think about it, I'm like, bro, she's got family members she says she loves. She's got friends that she says she loves. It's completely normal. That's completely fine. So you know what? No more platonically. Okay. Now, granted, it is platonic, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to specify because does she do that every time she says it to somebody? Probably not. So yeah, no, I love you. All right. Have a great day. Yeah. Get it.